up, people? Welcome back to another episode of Stars and Garters. I'm Katie Pettit, and today I have a guest that is not related to me for the first time in a long, long time. But this is Emma. You might have heard me mention her name before, or you might have heard me talk about a roommate that introduced me into Epic the Musical on my Epic the Musical episodes, and that is the roommate. This is the roommate. She is the one who got me onto Epic. But we're not going to talk about Epic today. Maybe in the future, but not today. Because today I actually have a top 10, well, top 5, but there's two fives, which equals 10, so do with that what you will. Which I haven't done in a while, but we are going to be doing our top 10 saddest video game moments. You know, I grew up on purely fighting games, so, like, it's only been maybe 5 years of me even knowing that video games were allowed to make you feel things other than like rage. Because like all growing up, it was literally just Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, and I was just like, I thought video games were for anger, but no, they can be for more. So we're gonna be talking about sadness and depression. So, and because you're the guest, I'll let you start.
Okay, my first entry is kind of, like I said, non-serious, but it is sad. So my first entry was when your dog or cat dies in Minecraft.
Cool.
That is awful. Honestly, like, especially if this is like a world, like, imagine at the beginning of your playthrough, you, like, have a dog or a cat that you befriend, and then you, like, go on your little journey, you build you a house, and then a creeper comes in and blows your dog up. It is genuinely saddening.
I get that one. I used to play Minecraft a lot as a kid. I was like bad at it because I'm not very creative, but I loved having cats and dogs. There was like this one time that I had this one cat and like a skeleton or something came into my house and I was trying to shoot the skeleton and I shot my cat.
Yep.
That was pretty rough.
It's also with parrots because I like having parrots in Minecraft.
I didn't even know they had parrots.
Yeah,
Is that recent?
No, it was maybe 10.
Oh, dang.
Within the last 10 years. They like sit on your shoulder and everything.
Oh.
They dance to music in Java, I believe. I don't think they do that in Bedrock. Yeah, that paired with like losing your Minecraft world that you've spent tons of time on.
That makes sense.
Least sad moment for the list. Still sad for a young child.
Yes.
Or even it still hits a little hard.
Yeah, I like one of the earliest gaming memories I have, not of me, but watching my dad play. He might have been playing Red Dead or something, and he had a horse and it got attacked by a cougar and it died and I was like inconsolable. So, like, yeah. The animals for the children, the animals are like it's rough when it's the animals. Speaking of animals, my number 5 is from my fifth favorite game of all time. But my number 5 is B12's death from a game called Stray. Now, Stray was one of those games. Another game like this will appear again on my list, but it was one of those games where I was like, oh, it's a goofy little puzzle game about a cat. You can scratch couches and rugs, and you can rub people's legs and trip people. That's great. That's all I need to like this game. But I was not expecting at all what the story had for me. And so basically B12 is this robot and he is following you around through this dystopian world where there's only robots and they're being hunted by these evil little gloopy gerbil things called Zerks because they eat metal. And B12's whole thing is that you find out that he is actually a human consciousness in a robot body. And he's trying to get back, either he's trying to reunite with his family or he's trying to get back in a real body. And you collect his memories throughout and you get to know him and he's a solid dude and honestly you're just a cat, so without him you probably wouldn't do anything for the story. You probably would just be tripping robots to this day.
That's crazy.
So, but yeah, you follow B12 and then like he's great, he's goated, he's one of my favorite video game characters of all time. But then at the end, he sacrifices himself to, I think it was to power the like power source that was needed to like eliminate all the Zerks. And the worst part is that you as the cat can then press X to like curl up around his little robot body because he's like a tiny little robot and you can like curl up around him. And the first time I've only played it once, so like when it happened and like the whole cutscene played out and it was like press X to like cuddle him and I like pressed X and I was like, I'm not leaving. I was like, I refuse to progress the story right now. So yeah, the indie games sometimes will hit you.
Indie games always get me.
Yeah,
They have
it's
so
like
much passion.
they
For
come out of
everything.
nowhere, and you're just like,
Yeah.
why? Why did you do this
Stray's
to
an indie
me?
game.
It's as far as my knowledge, like most people I've heard talk about call it an indie game. It just got really popular. Like I don't think it's published by anyone super.
I thought maybe it was supposed to be like EA.
That would have been that would have been my first guess, but I don't think so. Yeah, Stray is a great game. E12, R.I.P.
My next one is a game that I think I've gotten like halfway through, but I almost like stopped like at the beginning because it's the beginning. It's the beginning of Ori and the Blind Forest.
I've heard of that.
Also an indie game.
I've heard of
And
that.
the beginning is like this little like creature, and Ori is so cute. And he, I believe Ori is a he. It's been a while. Ori is living with this like bigger like creature similar to like a yeti. They're both so cute. Like they're like the best of friends, and they like take care of each other. Like person, like, this creature's like a parent to Ori, and then a storm comes, and there's like no food, and the like parent gives its like last food to Ori, and he eats, and then like lays down to sleep, and then like wakes up, and his parent is dead. And the way like the cutscene, he keeps shaking it, like he keeps putting his like front legs up on it and like trying to shake it awake, and then it just like goes limp. And the music in Ori and the Blind Forest is so good, and it makes it such like a sad moment.
Yeah.
And then you start the game, and like that is like what sets it like
nice
into motion, kind of. Not saying like Ori goes on this quest for revenge or anything like that, but he has nowhere to go. Like he has to leave because the person who was taking care of him is dead.
Yeah.
And he has to leave.
I feel like I've seen that before. Like I feel like I've seen that in other lists of like really sad video game openings.
It really got me the first time.
It's the cute creatures. It's not fair. You can't hurt them. My next one doesn't have to deal with cute creatures. Well, it's just some people. This one is from a game that we both have played, and my number 4 is Dimitri Kills Edelgard from Fire Emblem Three Houses. Now, I have played three routes of Fire Emblem Three Houses. I've played all the 3 houses. The one I haven't played is the Church of Saros. And they all have very sad moments because it's a game about war and nobody really wins. And even like when the war's over, it's kind of like, yay, all my friends are dead. Yeah. But the Blue Lions or the Azure Moon, I think it was called, route really, really hit me because I love the story that Dimitri goes through because he goes through insanity. He's been through a lot as a kid, and it finally breaks when Edelgard gets revealed as the Scarlet Emperor or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and he loses his mind for several years, and then he finally gets his sanity back. Byleth helps restore his sanity, and then he goes to fight Edelgard, like right before he goes to finally fight Edelgard.
Yes, because he thought Edelgard killed his entire family.
Right, yeah.
But it turns out Edelgard didn't actually, it was her uncle that had actually planned that. Edelgard didn't actually. Okay, yeah. Right. I played the Edelgard route, so I'm biased towards Edelgard.
Yeah, I understand. But when Dimitri gets his sanity back and then you fight Edelgard for the final time, before this, Dimitri, like for the entire time, the post time skip playthrough, Dimitri is like, I am going to murder that woman so hard. And he talks about it all the time, and he's like dead set. But in this change, when he when he regains his sanity, he like tries to, he wins the battle, and then Edelgard is like on her last whatever, I don't know what phrase I'm thinking of. She's almost dead. And
her last leg.
Yes. Sure, probably literally.
As if she has so many.
Right.
And she's like, pull out my 8th leg, actually.
Right. But she's been defeated, and Dimitri is trying to extend an olive branch, essentially, because he's had this change of heart. But then obviously Edelgard is very set on what she wanted to do. So when Dimitri reaches out his hand, she stabs him like in his like a flesh wound in a non-fatal area, but she stabs him with the dagger that he gave her as children, and then he has to kill her, and then they leave, and they're not allowed to look back, which just like gave the whole Blue Lions route just had this like super bittersweet feeling because like the Golden Deer route was more positive, and then the Black Eagles to me just felt like complete depression. I felt like a monster. And the Blue Lions, it was like, you know, you have Dimitri back, you have his sanity, but like it just ends so like bleak. And but it's like a good thing. Like the war is over, but Dimitri really wanted to give her that one
Yeah.
last chance and he couldn't. And I think it really like a lot of it captures what I really love about the game, like just the story of it and all the choices that you have to make regarding the characters. And so that was rough for me.
I really need to replay Three Houses. I get what you mean about feeling like a monster while playing Edelgard's route.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, kind of did, but I feel like I had gotten kind of attached to the people during the pre-war phase.
Yeah.
But I feel like it got to a point where it was like it felt like it was clear to me, and like it should have been clear to them why Edelgard was doing what she was doing, and so I didn't feel that bad because they were choosing to side against her, and
Sure.
especially choosing to side with the church whenever the corruption had already been exposed.
Right.
And so that's why I supported Edelgard. At first, I didn't, and it felt like she was just starting war for nothing. But then, you know, and now that you mentioned, I do remember that cutscene where she killed Dimitri.
Yeah.
I said that I didn't remember. I remember sparing Claude. I spared Claude because I didn't feel the need to kill him.
Sure.
But I do remember her killing Dimitri.
I killed Claude. That also was terrible, and I hated it. I hated myself.
Okay, so the next three are not really in a particular order. My next one is from Genshin Impact. And so I don't really play Genshin as much anymore, and I'm not like I'm free to play. I'm a whale at all. Not even a goldfish. I don't remember all the other terms. So Genshin Impact I feel like has a really like it honestly has a really good story. It gets a little boring because you know some games I feel the need to war dump on you like just non-stop, and
Yes.
Hoyoverse games tend to do that sometimes, especially in the newer regions. That's why I can't get through them and I stop playing. But one of the I think it was the 5.0 update, I cannot remember. 5.0, it was 5.0, Fontaine. And Fontaine I think was my favorite region. Not that this means anything to you because you've never played. Anyway, short version is the like title of this like moment would be Sinner's Finale. Basically what happened was in Genshin, there's archons that rule over each nation. They're gods for every nation, but there's higher principles that like have rules that you have to follow, that the gods have to follow. Like they're higher above and they keep the whole world, like the whole universe intact. And there was a Hydro Archon, Fontaine is water nation basically, who broke the rules by turning these creatures called oceanids into humans, and that was obviously against the rules. You couldn't create life out of like you couldn't do that for whatever reason. And the heavenly principles, people who are all over this, it's not hard to understand because you know Final Fantasy has similar things. There's
I was getting Final
higher
Fantasy
powers
vibes.
above the higher power.
Right.
And they noticed what she had done and were like and started a prophecy, and the prophecy was that the Oceanids turned into the humans of Fontaine. But the prophecy was that there was going to be a punishment for what she had done, and that Fontaine would flood and everyone would dissolve in the water because it's a special kind of water. That's a whole other type of lore. It's called the primordial sea. People of Fontaine were supposed to dissolve in it because of their sins. And so the Hydro Archon who did that died, and a new Archon took her place, and this new Archon's name is Focalors. And she had a plan, like she was like, no, I'm not gonna let this happen. And she like splits herself into two beings, and one is named Farina, one is Focalors.
Okay.
And her plan is like, okay, if I split myself into two, they won't notice what I'm doing by splitting myself. And her plan was basically to just eradicate the whole idea of a Hydro Archon so that the prophecy can't happen.
Okay.
And she plans to execute herself, so that eradicates the Hydro Archon and give the power to like a dragon, that because dragons used to rule over to that. And she executes herself and gives the power back to the dragon guy, and basically he has the authority over Fontaine and dissolves their sins. And so when the flood happens, the people don't dissolve. But the prophecy was like that the Hydro Archon would be left alone, weeping on her throne. So the sad part of this is when Focalors, she's like Farina is like the outside body, and Focalors is like the actual Archon on the inside. the actual god,
Mhm.
and like she lives in this other realm. But the final like scene of her, she's in a theater hall, like this massive theater hall, and there's this massive sword hanging over her,
Oh,
and the music just like turns into like a Fontaine is based off of France, and so
okay.
it turns into like a waltz, and she just starts dancing. And the dragon guy, his name is Nervalet, and he just watches her. He just has to watch her like as she dances, and then she finishes her dance, and the sword just crashes down on her,
Oh,
and you see her hat like fly, like you see it like roll to the side, and it's just a sad, like you think that the prophecy is happening
yeah.
and everybody's about to die, but then you realize that she executed herself
Yeah.
and basically said screw you to the
Yeah.
heavenly principles.
When they have the deep lore like that, it hits harder.
It really does. Genshin lore is so deep. I don't even understand it. I don't even try. Like, if you don't play the Archon quest and like pay attention, you'll be so lost. And I even had to watch a recap for this because I was like, I don't actually remember fully, but she sacrifices herself, and so Farina could live as a normal human. She had been putting on an act for 500 years, like acting as if she was the Archon, but she really was a human, and the Archon was actually like in her consciousness, but she had no actual power, and so she was forced to live as an Archon for 500 years, and so she finally gets that chance to be human.
Oh, wow.
But it's in a very sad way.
Yeah. Wow. All right.
So,
Like
yeah.
seriously though, when they have so much story, like the one that like one sad moment is just like wait,
Yeah, it's
wait, don't do
Genshin
that.
has so many moments though. You should play Genshin.
I might. I mean, it sounds in the realm of the
It
things
really,
that I play.
it really does. Like it's story. Like
Yeah.
there's character designs that you would like. I feel like, especially like the newer ones, they're so like detailed. Yeah, I think you should,
I might. I might. Well,
and so should you. Play
mm,
Genshin Impact.
play Genshin
Don't
Impact.
become a gambling.
Play all
addict,
the
though.
games, right? Don't do that.
Play all the games in this list. Yeah.
Exactly. The next one, my number 3, is very recent. It's a fresh wound, if you will. It's not the most recent, actually, but it still is fresh because I did a whole review of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth pretty recently, and I talked a lot about this moment, but my number 3 is Aerith's death from Final Fantasy VII
No.
Rebirth. A classic.
No.
I'm not actually referring to the classic because it is different in Rebirth. It's slightly different. They played this moment to perfection because the whole thing with remake, the first one was like at the end they were like they kind of revealed and it was kind of like a plot twist like this is not a one-to-one remake. This is
Yeah.
it has like it's a lot of it is a remake, but the story can change. Like there are things that don't have to happen from the original, or it can change parts of the original story. And so one of the biggest things that I was wondering, and I hopefully other people who played this game were also wondering, was how are they going to handle Aerith's death? That's one of the most iconic parts of the original.
Imagine they had removed it.
I know, and it's like it's obviously super heartbreaking. So like, do you take it out? Are they going like you didn't really know what they were going to do with it, and so but the way they played it so brilliantly is that they have you're confronting Sephiroth, Aerith's praying in the pool or lake or whatever, not the pool. This like
She's like got a floaty on.
She's praying, and you see Sephiroth come down in glorious HD this time. Yeah, you see him come down with his sword like he does in the original. But then Cloud steps in and he blocks him, and then you get there's a quick time event, and you push against him, and so you think, or at least I was like, oh, are they changing it? Is he going to save Aerith? Is he going to change this whole thing? No,
it's inevitable.
He does not.
Cloud cannot save her.
Right, because there's timelines are a big part of the Final Fantasy VII story, and basically what happens is the time just basically says nope because Cloud does save her. Essentially, Cloud does beat off Sephiroth, and he pushes him away, and it's like, oh, okay, did it work? And then the timeline is like, actually, no, she has to die, and then she dies, and
she keels over.
It kind of there's a lot that happens in between the moment where you stop Sephiroth and when she actually dies, but basically what happens is it kind of just undoes it like
Reverses.
That. Yeah, pretty much. It doesn't like actually play in reverse, but basically you just go back and he just stabs her, and then she dies, and Cloud has her in his arms, and he's crying for the first time he's ever cried in any game. And then Sephiroth's like, haha, your crying is in vain. And I'm like, shut up, my dude. And so that was very mean of him. I'm just like, because I've mentioned plenty of times before that I'm not a big fan of Aerith personally, but I can, like, I've said it before, I can admit, even if I don't like a character, I'm not gonna come out here and say I don't like Aerith because she's poorly written. That's not true at all. I think she's brilliantly written. Her personality just rubs me the wrong way, and sometimes she's even with that. Sometimes she's great. She's very good for Cloud, and so you just have this sweet, innocent girl who just like helps Cloud along his journey and is just such an emotional anchor for her. She just gets shish kebabbed right in front of you, even though you think you could have stopped it. And it's just they play it so beautifully, and it's honestly, and it was my first time experiencing Aerith's death at all. I've never played the original, and so I know for a lot of people who played this was they've seen Aerith's death, and so they got to see it again in a different way. This was my first time, guys. I had no idea how emotionally obliterating it would have. It was. Know. I knew like
stuff like that. It's like even though you know it's gonna happen, it's still like knowing it's like, and you can't stop it.
Yep. It was rough, and now it's it was just the way the game ended. I was just like, I just kind of sat there and I was like, what do I do now?
I've been there.
I was like, am I supposed to continue life right now?
That's how I felt after I finished The Last of Us. Yeah. Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Where am I?
But yeah.
Okay, my fourth one also might require a bit of an explanation. So, I'm a big Zelda fan. I play a lot of Zelda. I don't play a lot of different games, honestly, so it was hard to come up with stuff for this list. So my fourth or second saddest moment, I feel like, if I'm gonna rank these, would be when Zelda seals herself in the Temple of Time in Skyward Sword. In Skyward Sword, Zelda and Link are childhood friends, and I personally think that they're a couple, but I would not like push my ship or whatever on somebody, but it is more or less canon because the game ends with them like standing together. I think they're holding hands at the end, which that's not obviously to say that that's right, but there's a lot of undertones.
Sure.
And Link goes on this whole quest specifically like because she's in trouble and she's his best friend, and I think Zelda's definitely into him, but that's a whole other thing. So Zelda seals herself basically in the past. Skyward Sword has some time travel. It's like one part of the game is in the present, like, and one's in the past, like 1,000 years ago, maybe. I don't actually know how long it is. But Zelda basically like goes to the past, and she seals herself like in this prison in the past to keep Demise from breaking out like in the past, so that Link can come to the present and like finish, dealing with him in the present.
Yeah.
Before like dealing with like his like underlings in the present before he breaks loose. And so like you're in the past and you see Zelda like seal herself, and Link realizes what's happening and runs up to the prison and starts banging on the glass.
Classic.
And like Link never shows like Skyward Sword Link is so expressive. Like most Links are like silent and edgy, talking to you, Twilight Princess Link. But Skyward Sword Link, he has so many emotions. He's just a guy. Like he's just a sleepy random guy who just his girlfriend was in trouble and he was the one who came to help. He had courage. And I'm gonna read you what she says to him when she locks herself in there, because I was like, no, like no. She says, "I'm going to ask you a favor, sleepyhead. Ever since we were kids, I'd always be the one to wake you up when you slept in. But this time, when all of this is over, will you come to wake me up?" And it's like when you see her seal herself, and then you have some other like quests to do in the past, and whenever you finally get to go back to the present, I just remember like my first thing was like go to Zelda. Yeah, like I have to go there, go to her, and see like if she is okay. Yeah, like if she comes out and you do like you go in there, and she comes out of the prison, and like Link catches her before she falls over and freaking busts her face open, But it's just so like sad when she just seals herself in like a eternal sleep until he comes to wake her up.
Aw.
And then, right after she wakes up, Demise busts free because she's not keeping him there anymore.
Yeah.
And then you just immediately have to fight. It's just like she sacrifices her. This is a common theme in Zelda. Like Princess Zelda sacrifices herself a lot. She's a very self-sacrificial person, but like it hit harder in Skyward Sword because they were clearly close friends, and you can clearly see how it affected him. And you've spent this whole journey like trying to protect her, trying to catch up to her and make sure she's okay. And then she realizes who she is and makes the decision to seal herself.
Yeah. I've never played a Zelda game, but like I've always heard about the story is usually consistently very good. And I've heard a lot about Zelda as a really good character as well. More so than I have Link, actually.
He's meant to kind of be like a slate.
Sure.
Link is mute and like can be kind of like gender neutral
Sure.
in some games because the player can feel like they embody feel like they can be Link.
Kind of like Byleth.
Yeah, like so they can embody the role even though you can't like pick a gender.
Sure.
But that's mostly why he's mute because it would be really annoying if Link just yapped nonstop.
Sure.
That would be so annoying. Like
that makes sense.
Mario
that makes
doesn't
sense.
yap nonstop. Link doesn't yap nonstop. Other characters fill the silence.
Right.
That's why Link usually has a
sense.
companion
that sense.
talks, like Midna in Twilight Princess, Fee in Skyward Sword, and she yaps nonstop.
Gotcha.
So Link usually has a companion.
I mean, who needs words when you've got
Yeah, that's true. Zelda usually is a phenomenal character. My favorite is Breath of the Wild Zelda. She also is very self-sacrificial.
Cool.
And she's just so sad. Like she just thinks she's not good enough, and I'm just like, baby, the poor baby. She's
the poor
good
baby.
enough.
All right. Well, my next one, and I don't know if this is, I don't know if this is controversial to be. I don't know if it's controversial to put anything above Aerith's death because I'm aware of how iconic that is. I'm aware that broke a bunch of 90 these kids' hearts. I'm aware of all of that, but this is my personal list. And this moment made it so high because it's actually, ironically, it's not number one, but it's the only one on this list that actually made me like shed real tears. Like there were like prickling tears with some of them, but like this moment, like there were actual tears falling down my face. So number two is from Final Fantasy 15, and it's Noctis's final goodbye. So I've told this story in my review of Final Fantasy 15, but I'm going to tell it again because I love it. When this moment happened, so my parents, it was when I was back living with them, and my parents loved to play Scrabble and listen to country music. And they were playing Scrabble and blaring Dolly Parton when this moment happened. And so with Dolly Parton absolutely blaring in the background, I am not sobbing, but I am definitely crying. I'm definitely not okay. There's just like Dolly Parton is singing the background music to my sorrow.
She was there in your moment of need.
I guess she was. And then I turn around and my mom sees my face and she's like, "Are you okay?" Because my mom is not a gamer. But yeah, so basically in Final Fantasy 15, you follow these four dudes. I like to call them the Chocobros, and they are just the best of friends. They're so wholesome. They are the most ride or die buddies. It's such a brotherhood, and I know there's some stuff and people don't love the story of it. It gets a little convoluted, but just the relationship that these four guys, Noctis, Gladio, Prompto, and Ignis, which are all Latin words, and their entire names are also Latin. And that's the only thing that I got out of taking 4 years of Latin in high school. But anyway, basically, they go throughout this whole game together, and they go through an entire adventure with Noctis dealing with his responsibilities as the king of Insomnia, and they go through so many things together, and at the end I didn't know, somehow I didn't get spoiled for a game that happened probably 10 years ago, but I didn't know what was happening at the end. I was like, cool, we're gonna go beat the main bad guy, we're gonna go kill Arden, this is great, let's do it, hoorah, my guys. And so basically it cuts to you like go to enter the last castle or whatever, and it cuts to the scene of the boys around a campfire, and the campfires have been like your rest spots throughout the game. And so they're sitting around the campfire, and they're all just kind of like brooding in silence. And then one of them, I can't remember who, but they're like, "Well, this sucks," and I'm like, What sucks? What are you talking about?" And then they all kind of start manly crying a little bit, and so I'm like, what is happening? And then Noctis, the main character, starts kind of talking about like, "Hey, thank you guys for always being there for me." And I'm like, "What do you mean? They're still gonna be there for you." I'm like, "Shut up. They're gonna be here forever, and you're gonna be best friends forever." And he ends it, and just he's voiced by Ray Chase, and Ray does an amazing.
Ray Chase.
Mm-hmm.
The
He does.
Neverlet I mentioned earlier is voiced by Ray Chase.
Really?
The dragon who watched her die.
The more you know.
Yeah.
And he just does such an amazing job here. And his final line in that scene, I believe, is, "What can I say? You guys are the best." And then it cuts back, and he's standing in front of the castle, and I think this is actually after you beat Arden. You beat Arden, and then this whole thing happens because he has to go into the castle not to fight someone, but to. He has this, like, I forget the exact mechanics of it, but he has this duty as the King of Insomnia, and he has to basically sacrifice himself to rid his kingdom of the like darkness and the beasts that are like plaguing it. And I did not know this. I was not even hinted at, and I was just like, you do follow him, like kind of more accepting his duty as a king, but I thought that he's just gonna rule and he's gonna reign, and him and his buddies are just gonna chill at the palace, and that was his journey. I thought he was gonna be a king, and it was all gonna be chill. 4 kings, and no, he goes. He just says goodbye to the boys, and he goes in the castle, and he dies.
He dies. He dies.
He dies.
And then they die.
And then the credits roll, and over the credits, the song "Stand By Me" is playing. Like, I barely know that song, but like it's like a penultimate friendship song, and it's playing over pictures that you took because one of the boys is a photographer of them, and it's just playing, and I'm like, I mean, I obviously wasn't right like that when it happened because I was crying. And I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah, how could this happen?
Like, I have been through this whole game with these 4 boys. What are the 3 of them going to do now? Like, maybe. But yeah, and then I was sad for the rest of the day. It took me forever to beat this game, and I wasn't expecting it to, because the first half of it honestly does move very slowly, and I can see the critiques of that, but like it picks up really fast in the second half, and it just goes and goes and goes, and then Noctis dies. And so yeah, that one was it just right in the chest, and I was like, it was like completely unexpected, just like out of nowhere. So yeah,
I have Final Fantasy 15. I haven't played it yet.
Spoilers.
Yep. It's okay. You play Genshin, I'll play Final Fantasy. Which actually, I have it on PS4, and I don't have a PS4, so guess I won't, actually. Yeah, that's always, I don't, which that actually, what I'm about to say, I don't, it's so sad when you've been with a character for so long, and then they just die.
Right, yeah.
And sometimes it feels pointless.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it feels like it's just meant for emotional value, but it has no real plot value.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that about my final entry, but,
sure.
You with somebody long enough. So my final saddest moment, which I realize that these are all deaths, I think. So that's interesting. I mean, mostly, like, the sad moments.
I think mine are too,
The sad moments are always when somebody dies, when somebody leaves, when somebody...
People dying is sad, actually.
Like, it's...
breaking news.
That's really the only sad moments you have in video games.
Right.
Like, I can't really think of anything else that's, like, sad. There's things that are, like, you might have, like, an overall sad game.
Sure, right.
But a sad moment is usually, like, somebody dying.
Right.
Or something
that makes sense.
That
makes a lot of sense.
My final entry is very controversial, and is the reason a lot of people don't like this game. My final entry is Joel's death from The Last of Us Part 2.
Well, so, I figured it would be from The Last of Us.
Yes. I struggled so hard not to pick, like, all of mine from The Last of Us games, because The Last of Us is, like, my favorite game of all time. I haven't actually, I haven't beaten The Last of Us Part 2 yet, but I watched the whole show, and I know, like, I've watched a ton of YouTube videos, and so I know the whole plot and everything, but I still am like experiencing it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually watched the show before I played the game because I didn't know anything about The Last of Us, and I was just scrolling on HBO or something one day, and I was like, "Oh, this might be interesting." Like I'd heard of the game, but didn't know really much about it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know it was like zombie apocalypse.
Oh.
I had no idea, and I ended up really liking the show, and I cried when he died in the show. Like I cried real tears.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like full on crying. And then when I played the game, I knew it was gonna happen, and I still teared up.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so like because you spend the entire first game with Joel playing as Joel, and you have this bond with Joel, and you start to understand him more, why he is the way he's kind of a grumpy old man for the most part.
Is he the one? Did his daughter die?
His daughter died, yeah, but like the day the apocalypse started, his daughter died. That was a very bad thing that happened. I saw when I was researching, I saw a lot of people say that was like one of the saddest moments in video games. Personally, I wouldn't put it on a saddest moment. Like, it is sad, but you're also like 15 minutes into the game.
Sure.
So it's not that sad. You have no attachment to her. And like, if you got attached to her that fast, you're really going to be upset when Joel dies. You're really going to like crash out. No, it was sad. And it kind of sets into motion like his whole like character. Like he is the way because he lost her. And he's so like detached from people and like emotional connections, and he's just like living day by day, like just going through the motions pretty much. And so you have this like bond with Joel as you start to travel with Ellie, and Ellie like kind of becomes like this term is like a surrogate daughter.
Sure.
Like because she doesn't have any parents either. Her dad is unknown, and her mom died from a zombie bite. And Ellie's immune to the infection. And so Joel is like taking her to a camp or like to a group called the Fireflies who are trying to make a cure for the virus, the cordyceps infection. And like you see how much they bond. And at first Joel is like completely like, this is just a job that I'm getting paid for. I don't care about you at all. He didn't even know she was immune at first. They didn't tell him that. So like he sees her get bit and is about to blow her brains out because he like does not play like he is a ruthless killer. Joel does not hesitate to kill. Like I said, he is very like detached, and you just see like him start to care in a way that you don't expect. Really start like he finds his brother and like goes to like where his brother lives, and he wants to leave Ellie with him and have his brother finish the job because he just doesn't want to like do it anymore. Like he doesn't think he can do the rest of it, and he ends up changing his mind. And I feel like he really has started to see Ellie more as his daughter, even though like they had this argument where he's like, "I sure as heck ain't your dad." But then I feel like he thinks about it and he's like,
well,
starts to imagine a world without her, and he's like, can't do it. And he ends up finishing it, and you can tell how much he cares about her because like she gets kidnapped, and there's this whole thing, and comforts her, like he hugs her, and it's the first time they've ever like hugged, and he calls her like baby girl or something like that, like something he used to call his daughter. And so like they spend the whole first game like they finally have this bond to the point where he kills like over 100 people for her at the end.
Dang.
Because to make the cure, they were gonna have to take out her brain. It was gonna kill her. He wouldn't let him do it. Like he killed like a whole hospital full of soldiers and kidnapped her back.
Period.
And in the second game, there's like a couple hours of runtime before and you could tell Joel and Ellie like aren't on good terms, and it's like 4 or 5 years after the first game, and apparently Joel has done something and she's like upset with him. It's mostly because she found out like for sure what he had done, that he had lied to her, because she made a promise that what he said that they had stopped looking for a cure, and that's why they left the hospital. She was under anesthesia while he was committing mass slaughter.
Right.
And she asked him like to swear that what he said was the truth. And I think at some point during the game she finds out the truth. Like she doubted him to begin with, but I feel like as she gets a little older, she really learns what happened, and she's like,
no.
But she still like is clearly conflicted between like this is like has become like her dad.
Sure.
But he's done an awful thing, and is like the way she sees it, he's stolen her purpose because like she's the only immune person,
right?
and her purpose was to help make a cure,
Right.
to end this like once and for all. And she feels like he stole that from her, and he stole that from the world, like from humanity. And they are like barely talking when he dies, and they had a discussion like the night before, but she had spent like months like angry at him. And then a girl who was the daughter of the neurosurgeon that he shot in the head, the neurosurgeon who was about to perform on her, Joel walks in the room and the guy's like, "You can't be here." And Joel is like so emotionless whenever he shoots him in the head. Like he just says, "I don't care," and just shoots him in the head. Oh. And that's the nurses give that testimony. Which when I played The Last of Us, I killed both those nurses so they couldn't be eyewitnesses because in the second game they escaped and tell the neurosurgeon's daughter what happened in that room and who did it. Goes on this quest for revenge to kill Joel because Joel killed her father. But I killed those nurses, so I don't see how that still happens because I killed them both. I made sure to kill them, but guess they told her before they died. It was all for nothing. It was for nothing. And Abby, the guy's daughter, goes on this quest for revenge, and she brutally kills Joel. It is so... she tortures him. And it's all on screen. She beats him to death with a golf club. Oh. She shoots him in the leg and then beats him in his head in with a golf club very slowly. Dang. And Ellie comes in while this is happening, and she sees him, she like comes into his house. They got split up. There was like a whole bunch of stuff happening. Joel was out on patrol and stopped responding. Ellie and her friend went out looking for him. And they finally find, like, at this lodge where Abby and her crew are. And she hears Joel screaming. And she's like, whoa. And she comes in the room and she sees him. And she has a gun. And she's like, she's like, whoa, But Abby has friends that, disarm her and have her pinned to the ground. And so Ellie is on the ground with her face shoved into the ground, and she can just see Joel. Like, all she can see is Joel he's barely alive, and he has his hand on the ground, and his finger like barely moves, and you can hear him groan a little bit when he sees her. And Ellie just starts screaming. She starts screaming like, "Joel, get up, get up, like get up," because he had like survived death so many times. Yeah. Like, and he was always there to save her. Like, he was there, but there. She needed him, and then like she just watched him get beaten to death the rest of the way. You could say he deserved it because he killed so many people. Yeah. When you're in an apocalyptic world, who's the judge? It's just it's hard to watch. And her screams, her actress did a phenomenal job because like it's like so heartbreaking. Yeah. As she's just beating him to death, and there's nothing he can do about it because he's tied down, and like she's just beating his head, and there's blood splattering. She just keeps going, and then he's dead. It's always good though when like if a game is going to get violent with it, like it's good when it does something for the story, and it's not just like gratuitous for absolutely no reason. The whole story, like, because then Ellie goes on this quest for revenge, and it's the whole thing. Yeah. But it's very controversial. Whenever you take the main character from the last game and brutally kill him, and then you play as Ellie for the rest of the game, it's a very controversial game. That makes sense. The Last of Us Part 2 won Game of the Year 2020, but it was a very, very controversial game, and it still is. I've heard other controversies about it, but I didn't know that one. Most of the controversies I heard were about Abby, I believe. Yeah, because apparently she has muscles. She's really muscular because she's a soldier. Yeah. And I'm like, guys, that happens. Believe it or not, women can have muscles too. I know. I saw that and it was like, I'm literally a Christian, but women can have muscles. I saw there were theories that Abby was trans. Right, exactly. That's what I heard. Women can have muscles, and she's not even like roided up, big, waddling around. She's pretty big, but she's not like freaking absolute massive. Exactly. Street Fighter. She's like literally just muscular. It's like real. Yeah, exactly. I've seen images and I was like, no, that's actually clearly just a woman who has lived a life that requires a lot of intensity physically. It's somebody who's physically active. Right. She has. Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting because I know I haven't heard of too many games that will get away with something like that. So because The Last of Us was already very gory. First, it's a very gory game. Yeah. Pretty sure it's rated M because it has language, it has innuendos. It's very gory and very gross. And I'm
Sure.
not a big body horror. I can't stand body
Yeah.
horror. So there were some parts that I was like navigating because like the infection, like some zombies look so like disturbing because they're just like complete terrifying creatures. But yeah, The Last of Us Part 2 overall is very controversial, and that's just the first like stumbling stone, I feel like, for
Gotcha.
it. It's also written in a very unconventional way. The way that it's meant to be played is like flashbacks and then present and flashbacks and then present.
Oh, okay.
Like while you're playing as Ellie on her pursuit for revenge, you're seeing flashbacks of her with Joel over the
Okay.
years until it builds up to what actually happened to make her mad at him in those last few months.
Well, my number one does not have any gore because it's entirely black and white, 8 bit. I don't know if 8 bit is the correct term, but it's very old school graphics game. My number one comes from a little game called Undertale, and it is Asgore and Toriel's backstory. Toriel is the first person you meet. Get it? Tutorial, like tutorial. And so, anyway, my brother Wyatt, who's been on the pod a couple times, he constantly told me I needed to play Undertale, and then this Christmas he bought it for me, and so I was like, well, that would be rude to not play it at this point. And so I played it, and I didn't have any, like, it wasn't that, like, I don't want to play this game. It's just that I wasn't particularly interested in it. And so I played it, and it's very similar to my expectations that I had for Stray, but it's like times 10 with what it did to me emotionally. So I go into in Undertale and I'm thinking this is gonna be a funny, like a quirky little puzzle game. It's got the retro graphics, it's got little monsters and cute little human character, and it has some references, and it's fun, it's cute, it's whatever. And you just throughout the game, especially in the first playthrough, because it's a game that's meant to be replayed, and I've only played it once. But you get these little hints throughout that, like, basically in this game, there's humans and there's monsters, and they live in two separate worlds. And there was a war, and now they are separate, and humans are not supposed to be in the monster world. You play as a human child in the monster world. And so you get these subtle hints of lore like throughout the game, and it doesn't like throw anything at you. You could like if you would even miss it if you didn't choose to interact with stuff a lot. And so you start kind of you might read some stuff on, oh, there was a war in the past, and you might get some little bits here and there, and it's more of sometimes with the characters you interact, you have this feeling that something's off. Like there's that big feeling from Toriel because she tries really, really hard not to let you go to the surface of the monster world because she knows that humans aren't supposed to be up there. And or with Sans is a very loaded character actually, and with just all these characters that you get to meet and interact with. And then when you like, there's this whole thing where it's like, if you want to get out of the monster world, you gotta get past Asgore. He's the king of the monsters, and he doesn't like you. He's not gonna want you here. So you get to the last level, you get back to the home that you started in because Toriel tried to make a nice little home for you so that you could live in, and then you choose to be a bad child and leave and
Naughty.
break her heart. And you go back to that house, and as you're walking through the house to go and meet Asgore, these monsters keep popping up, and usually if a monster pops up, you either choose to fight it or spare it. But this time, the monsters just pop up and they start speaking, and they start telling you a story. And they don't, I don't know if they named names. I didn't even find out that Toriel was actually Asgore's wife. She's the queen. I don't think I found that out until after I finished the game, or maybe during it, because my brother Wyatt told me. And so they tell the story of like the king and the queen of the monsters had a child. And this child, they loved this child very much. And one day, a sick human, or not a sick human, but just like, I think the human was fine at first. And a human child came into their world and became like a brother to their monster child. They were like it was like a second son to them, and they raised this child and their monster child, like they grew up together. And then one day the human child became sick, like deathly ill, and they said the last thing they wanted to see was these yellow flowers from their village in the human world. So the monster child brings the human child into the human world, and the humans see him with the child. Well, the human child dies first, and so the monster child is bringing him to like be buried with the flowers that he wanted to see. The humans see him with the child's body, and they think that a monster killed him because monsters and humans are not typically friendly, and so they go and they attack the monster child, and the monster child he doesn't fight back at all. He just lets them do what they will, and he leaves the human child there, and he like walks away and uses up his last strength, and then he dies too. And so the king and the queen of the monster world lose two children in one day, and they shut off the worlds from each other, and they say any human that comes in here, they're dead. Like we're not doing this anymore. Like we're not having this happen anymore. And so what like that is already heartbreaking enough. I'm like watching this, my mouth is open wide, and like so and I am on a Discord call with Wyatt because he wanted to see me play this because he had waited for me to play it for so long. But I'm just showing him the screen and not my face, thankfully. And so like he just hears me go quiet for a while, and he's like, "Katie, are you still there?" And I'm like, "Yes." I'm here. And but what makes it worse is that when you go and meet Asgore, who has been hyped up as this big, strong, like super powerful final boss, you see him, and he's in a field of the yellow flowers, and he's in it smiling, and he's like, "Oh, you're here. I don't really want to do this, but this is how it is." And then you fight him, and I was like, I don't want to fight this man. And to make it even worse, you have the options because it's turn-based combat, and you have all the options for what you can do. You can fight, act, items, and then there's mercy. So you use mercy when you want to spare an opponent. And so I was like, I'm sparing this man. I was like, there's literally no way I will not kill this man. I'm not I love him. He's so sweet. And so he like when it's time to fight, he puts on his helmet, he takes his like trident that he has, he stabs the mercy button. And so there's no mercy button. You have to fight him. And so yeah,
just simply let him kill you.
I was like, honestly, next time I'm playing, I'm doing the true pacifist route where you're like not supposed to kill any monsters at all. And because like apparently that's the best ending, and though there was not like it wasn't a complete downer ending, like I was still very unhappy because Asgore ended up dead, and it was really sad the way it played out because you beat him, and then you finally get the option to spare him, and so I'm like, obviously yes, spare this man. And then he smiles, and he's like, "Oh, okay," and because you're a human child, and he's like, maybe we can even take you in too, me and Toriel, and we could be like a family. And I'm like, yes, we could, yes, good. And then this absolute jerk named Flowey, and I don't even want to say his name, but he comes in from behind and he stabs Asgore while he's weak, and Asgore still dies. And that I was deeply, deeply mad. I was like, I don't know if I've like this is a strong statement, but I don't know if I've ever been more mad at a final boss, because I was like, sir, I have been through so much right now, and I thought I was still gonna come out with a happy ending, and you just like
no.
And just so yeah, I was like, this man will die. I was like, I didn't want to like the first what I thought was the final boss. I didn't want to fight him at all. But you, Flowey, I will kick your butt, because that was like
unnecessary.
Yeah. So yeah, Undertale coming out of nowhere, because I really didn't expect it at all. I wasn't expecting that kind of story from a game that looks like it does, from a game that has Megalovania. Like I just wasn't expecting it, and here we are. But yeah, that was our list. I honestly like at this point I do prefer story driven games.
Yeah.
Because like when I grew up playing only fighting games, I kind of was in like this headspace that when they were like super story driven, that they were like cringe, and I'm like, oh, this is for people who just like want to watch a movie. And then my very first RPG was Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I was like, never mind. I was like, this is actually really amazing. Now that is my preferred kind of game.
I grew up playing like Mario and
sure
stuff like that. So.
The hard hitting stories of Mario.
He gets kidnapped.
For the 90th time.
Story-driven games.
Yeah.
like consider my favorite Mario game is Super Mario Galaxy, which is like the story Mario
Right.
game. I was about to say story Mario game.
Storio.
The story game for Mario.
Sure.
Like it has its moments, and so like I've always loved story games with beautiful like sweeping soundtracks. Like that's why I love Zelda so much. Its soundtracks are just
Yeah, I do regret I try like with my because my musical knowledge like just instrumental wise is very little and so I don't pick up on things
yeah.
in the background like we were doing this video game music quiz and I'm a huge Final Fantasy VII fan and it plays I with One Winged Angel and I'm just sitting there like
guys, what is this?
what is
Which
this?
I got it. I recognized when we because I played Final Fantasy VII, and I was like, "Oh, I know that. That's so easy." And you were like, "Oh."
I was like, what?
Oh, wow.
But I do like I understand the whole music part of it. I just don't. It
Yeah.
it doesn't like register for me, but I understand. But yeah, video games. Sad video games are good. We like them. We like to feel
Video
things.
games that make you feel things.
Exactly. We endorse it. Go play it. Get off your like Street Fighter
Yeah.
like 16-month streak of winning and go play a nice story driven game. I promise. Change your life.
I really wanted to think of a moment from a Pokemon game because I also love Pokemon, but I couldn't think of anything. Most sad Pokemon moments are in the anime.
Oh, I've seen the gifs of like all the Pokemon crying, and that's pretty much my knowledge of the anime.
That's when Ash gets turned to stone.
Oh,
Rip
dang.
Ash, catch him.
Dang.
He could not catch him.
All right, and on that note, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being on the pod. Make sure to follow and subscribe and comment and share and
do that.
Yeah, make sure to comment what's your favorite or your saddest video game moment. Which one made you cry? Tell us how you cried. And
how you cried.
And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.